Your next stop is the Elmen Center. There's a lot to share with your tours about the Elmen Center and a lot to cover in a pretty short amount of time. But it's a really important part of the tour because so many of our students are involved in recreational services and activities through the Elmen Center. Make sure to mention that rec services are a great way to meet students right away on campus as freshmen. Right away, your tour gets a really great first view of the pool, so you can talk to them a little bit about some of the events that go on through the pool. Next, you can direct your tour's attention to the big blackboard that displays everything going on throughout the week at the Elmen. It usually lists late night activities, games that are coming up, or even intramural activities for the whole month. As you walk towards the desk, you'll pass Mark Hecht's office, so you can chat with your tour about our heavy student participation in recreational services. Talk about all the intramural opportunities and clubs that students can take part in through the Elmen. Tell them some of your favorite intramural services. Maybe it's all-terrain volleyball or basketball or even outdoor club. The Elmen desk is where students can sign out any sporting equipment they need, sign up for intramurals, and check weight room hours. The Elmen staff is always very friendly and will sometimes even chat with your tour about the best things to be a part of through rec services and what they can expect. Some popular intramurals include racquetball and volleyball, so you can quickly show your tour the racquetball courts if they seem interested. The Elmen desk is a good point to stop and talk about work study and non-work study jobs available through the Elmen Center. We have tons of students who make up the Elmen staff, and they plan late night events and activities, they ref intramural games, they teach swimming lessons, they work the desk, and much, much more. You can point out to your students the locker rooms as you walk down the hall, and then be sure to peek into some of our hyper classrooms and labs, and share with them some details about the 5 components of our hyper program: athletic training, fitness management, sport management, exercise science, and physical education. You can direct your tour's attention to the Bob Hall Football Complex, where our Augustana Vikings football team trains throughout the year. Your next stop will be the Elmen Center weight room. There are a few more labs upstairs near the weight room if your student is interested in any sort of hyper program. You can talk to your students about the great hours we have for our students in the weight room. They can work out almost any time of the day, about 7 days a week. We have great equipment for our student body to use, and it's always really easy to find open machines throughout the day. Because many of our athletes have their own weight rooms and workout facilities, there's always a lot of space for other students to work out too. There are even classes held in our weight room, like women's weight training and circuit training. And it's nice to mention the Elmen's close proximity to the freshman dorms. It's a really nice perk for first-year students to be able to walk to the Elmen Center very quickly. If you have a student who is interested in playing basketball, whether on Division II or in intramurals, You can take them back to our practice gym and show them where games and practices would take place if they played basketball. Next, you can head out and get another really great view of our swimming pool. You'll walk past the dog-eat-dog wall, and it's another good opportunity to talk about our great participation that we have in our intramurals. The multi-purpose room is not only where our wrestling team trains, but where many of our physical education courses and classes are taught. This is a good time to talk about our liberal arts program and how students will have the opportunity to take a few PE classes during their course at Augustana. Some of the students' favorite classes include Zumba, yoga, and boot camp fitness. Upstairs, there's a great view of our basketball courts, and you can talk a little bit more in-depthly about our Division II sports and what a huge impact it has on our student life. We have so many students, alumni, and community members who attend our sporting events. You can direct their attention to the Elmen offices, where students can find coaches and faculty members throughout the day. To finish off your tour of the Elmen Center, ask if your student has any questions and encourage them to come back to campus for a game so they can see the excitement it brings to our campus community themselves.
Okay, Mark, thanks for taking the time today to chat with us. First, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and then also the other full-time staff here in the Elmen Center.
I'm the Director of Recreational Services here at Augustana and have been here for, going on 26 years now. And also had the privilege of graduating from Augustana. So was away for about 4 years before I came back when we built the Elmen Center. And so been working here with intramurals and rec services and managing the facility since 1988. And Carmen Hecht, my wife, also works here with rec services, and she's specifically involved with our office staff in that area, and then more the marketing and promotions part. And then we have Sherry Olson, who is also an Augie grad, as my wife is an Augie grad. And Sherry Olson's an Augustana grad, and she's responsible for our Learn to Swim program, which has around 2,000 kids every year from the Sioux Falls community participate in swim lessons, so a very, very successful program. And Sherry also works with our team leaders, which is one of our leadership positions. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then Chad Barman is a graduate assistant on our staff and works in the area of, his main focus is with our intramural program. And then Natalie Prell is our outdoor program coordinator. And she's a graduate of St. Cloud State, and this is her second year at Augustana.
Okay, great. Well, we know Augustana has a very active student body, but can you maybe give us, put it in terms of numbers, how active is the student body in terms of participation in the rec services programs here? And then, also talk a little bit about maybe, as far as what you know, how that compares to other colleges.
Yeah. We certainly enjoy talking about numbers, and it's exciting. And last year, for example, on our campus, we had 79% of the student body, the campus, participate in our rec and intramural programs, which was our highest ever. We were 74% 2 years before that, and so it's continually over the years just consistently increased. And to put a 79% in perspective, in regard to other campuses, certainly different campuses will categorize it and look at these numbers. There's a little variation in kind of who you count, but when we talk about the 79%, that's each student participating as a unique individual. And in comparison to other campuses, as I talk with them and read different articles, you know, they're in the neighborhood of 30%, maybe a high in some places of 40%, really, really good. The number that I get the most excited though about, Adam, is in regard to our female participation. And that's where you really see a dramatic difference between Augustana and other campuses. And so, for example, last year at Augustana, 88% of the freshman women participated in intramurals. And freshmen through seniors, female participation in our intramural and rec programs was 79%. The reason that's so exciting is obviously there's a lot of people participating and having a great experience. But in comparison, 2 years ago there was an article written in a national magazine that circulated around the country, and the focus was, why do women not participate in intramurals? And so they looked at a number of college campuses, and get this, the highest numbers they found on college campuses as far as female participation was 16 to 19%.
Oh my.
And so we're with 79%. And so it's really exciting to see that. And I guess the last thing I'd say on that is, we talk a lot with our staff. What's really neat to see is what's behind those numbers. You know, certainly each of those numbers represents a person. But with that, and we have this in a lot of places in our facility, but with that, you look at pictures and what you see is relationships. And to talk with the students here and to talk with our staff and people who are participating in the programs, and you know that for each one of those numbers, it's a person, which is in multiple experiences and relationships and connections and fun and competition and exercise. And so that's we talk a lot about, the number's great, but what's behind it? And that's the neat part.
Well, in addition to intramural sports, there's a lot of other programming that comes out of this building. And so whether that's through the weight room or through other activities or kind of initiatives that you guys are spearheading, can you talk maybe about some of those that are most popular, maybe on an annual basis, or even some new things that our staff should be aware of this year?
Sure. Kind of focusing still on the intramural aspect.
Yeah, but intramural or maybe
as well.
And even I'm thinking of maybe like in fitness initiatives or things that you're trying to to engage at different groups on campus.
You bet. Yeah, very much. Yeah, I think one of the positives in regard to why we're able to attract so many people is because of the variety.
Yeah.
And staying on the intramural part for one more point is, we've been committed for a number of years with our intramural activities to always offer different divisions. A competitive kind of top level competition division for volleyball or basketball or whatever, but also offering what we call a recreational division. And in some cases, racquetball and some other intramural activities, even a rec division. And so that's been very well received. So we have participating, again, in those numbers, folks who have been involved maybe in sports and athletics all through their elementary, middle school, high school years at a very competitive level. And we also have a number of folks who, they might be playing racquetball here for the first time ever, and they're playing intramurals. Or they're playing volleyball for the first time since they were in 2nd or 3rd grade. So that's really neat to see. Going from there on a broader focus, in regard to exercise, one of the programs that we're really excited about is what we call a Get Fit program. And our Get Fit program is really just a self-paced, self-guided exercise program that our goal with it has been kind of a cross-training type focus. And so people self-report. So if you go play volleyball, or if you go to a Zumba class, or if you go to use the weight room, each time you do that, then you come to our front desk and record a workout. And it's encouraging a variety of workout options. So you're not just going to the weight room 5 times a week, and that's it. But you're doing other things in the pool, and again, other group fitness classes. So that's been very well received. We have a great participation in that, students and staff, really both. Another piece is in regard to the group fitness area, and just we have about 20 group fitness classes each week. There's not a charge for any of those. And a very, very popular one is Zumba, and we meet over in the back alley at about 5 o'clock, 2 or 3 days a week, and then there's also a 6:30 a.m. one. And over in the back alley, they'll get 80 plus people for this Zumba class on a Thursday afternoon. And there's a number of other group fitness classes as well. Zumba, the last 2-3 years, has been the most popular. And so those are a couple things that are going on in that area.
Talk a little bit, you mentioned club sports, and that's a little bit different than intramural sports. Talk about how it's different, what we currently offer in terms of club sports.
Okay, yeah, you bet. The club sports that we offer now, we have a men's soccer club, we have Ultimate Frisbee Club, which is men and women that are participating in that, and we have a volleyball club, men and women participating in that. There's a women's rugby club. We also have martial arts club. And over the years, there at times has been a gymnastics club. There's been a time where we had a fencing club. We currently don't offer those. And so a couple things in regard to the sport clubs. One is students that are here, students that come here, if they've been involved, for example, lacrosse is getting very, very popular in this part of the country, more so than it used to be. And so I think more and more, we'll have students coming from that kind of a background. It's really what we communicate to our students is if you have a real interest and passion in a certain area, and we're not currently offering that as a sport club, what it takes to get it going is some highly motivated students, and then I work with them on how we're going to organize this sport club, and then we move forward that way. The sport clubs that we offer, they do vary from the current martial arts club, which is basically a group of about 10-15 students that meet twice a week, and they work out up in our multi-purpose wrestling room on martial arts and different techniques. And so you have that aspect. Then you move along the spectrum to our men's soccer club, our Ultimate Frisbee Club, our women's rugby club, and they're actually participating in a conference with other sport clubs from other schools, and they can play in a state tournament and a regional tournament and a national tournament if you win enough and go that far. And our women's rugby club has a coach. The men's soccer and the Ultimate Frisbee coach themselves. Our men's soccer club they qualified for a regional tournament out in Colorado over fall break. They just played out there, and about 4 years ago they went to the national tournament. So you have a spectrum there in regard to kind of time commitment and travel that varies from those clubs to the volleyball club, martial arts. Our volleyball club participates in the city leagues here in Sioux Falls, and they play some open tournaments. And so you've got that, and how that really differs from intramurals is simply the intramurals is internally focused. We're playing against other students here on campus, and then the sport clubs is we're now going out and playing against other schools in that sport club setting.
Okay, good. The outdoor club, different than maybe a club sport. I mean, that's a real focus here, the outdoor programming that Natalie's leading. Talk about some of their activities and kind of how students get involved in that.
The outdoor program, outdoor club, are certainly doing a variety of activities. The main one that I would say that you hear about the most and people get most excited about, and it's the most consistent, is rock climbing. They go over to Palisades, which is about just 20-25 miles from here, and we'll climb over there. But they also will go down to Vermilion, and then also over here in Sioux Falls at a church. There's an indoor climbing wall, and so every Sunday night they go climb at this church in Sioux Falls. And but what they enjoy the most is over the Palisades and climbing there. They have taken a couple trips to the Twin Cities, vertical endeavors, and do the trip up there kind of for a weekend and climb there. And so that's the big thing. But other things that they do, camping trips, kayaking trips, bike trips, They'll meet in the fall every Friday, like at 5:30, and they'll do a bike around town, and they'll get out on the bike trails, or they might bike to Brandon or Harrisburg, and they meet at the Commons, and whoever shows up and wants to go, they go. They just actually came back. They had a number of students that went to the Black Hills for fall break, and they were out there for about 4.5 days. And while they were out there, they hiked Tarney Peak, camped out, rock climbed at Sylvan Lake. They do some cross-country skiing in the winter, some snowshoeing. They've camped out a couple times on campus, right out on the campus green. So a wide variety of activities.
Okay. Is there, are there costs associated with that? Well, sometimes we'll get questions about that. Or, some of these clubs, they obviously have funding from the college.
Correct, yeah.
Specifically with the outdoor programming, is it maybe costs associated with trips, but other things, are they usually free?
They are usually free, yes. Yeah, most of the activities, the rock climbing when they're going to Palisades or here in Sioux Falls at the indoor wall, Vermilion, there's not a cost with those. The only thing that there typically has been a cost for is a bigger trip, like that Black Hills trip that they went on over fall break. But even that was $25 a person for 4.5 days. Yeah. So and that included everything. So very minimal cost. And in most of the activities, there's not any cost.
Yeah. Okay. You touched on this also a little bit, but want you to expand on the unique job opportunities for students in the Elmen Center, and kind of talk about the variety there, and maybe specifically some of the leadership growth opportunities that come from those.
Yeah, that's probably the part, you kind of know this, that I get most excited about. We have currently on our staff about 120 students that work with rec services. And the positions are, there's work-study eligible students that work for us, but there's also a number of students that aren't eligible for work-study. I think that's a question a lot of times that comes up. And so we have both each year. And then the positions range with our swim program. We have a number of students that teach swim lessons for us. We have a number of students that are lifeguards for our swim program, or just for the open swim time that we have in the pool area. Weight room supervisors, front desk staff that work at our front desk area where we check out equipment, and it's kind of our information hub where people come to for answers and to all kinds of questions. We have intramural officials that officiate intramural volleyball and basketball and flag football and softball, and group fitness instructors with the Zumba, circuit weights, water aerobics. So those are our main positions, and then we have 3 different leadership positions. One that we call a facility staff supervisor, and so that leadership position, their primary responsibility is they, in the evenings and weekends, most specifically, they're in charge of the facility when I'm not in here. And they're running the programs that are going on. But most importantly, they're responsible for supervising and leading and interacting with our other staff, those weight room supervisors and lifeguards and front desk staff. And so it's definitely a leadership position that provides a lot of opportunity for growth, leadership-wise. We also have a team leader position. We split our staff into 7 teams, 7 small groups, and there's a team leader for each of those. There's about 14, 15 people on each team, and they interact with these other team members in one-on-one settings. They put on different events. Our late nights, I should make sure and mention our late night activities, and I think we'll probably hit that a little bit later, but it's one of the things that they do, so they're responsible for putting on those events. They actually do a number of team bonding activities where they might go play paintball, or they might go to someone's house for a meal, or they go do a service project. And then the third one is with our intramural program. There again is an intramural supervisor position that trains and evaluates our intramural referees and oversees the different nights and afternoons when we have intramural activities going on. So our mission, our purpose with Rec Services is we want to attract people and build leaders. And so we really challenge ourselves to, as students work here, really comes down to two questions that we always want them to be asking themselves. Is this a place where you feel like you can give and contribute and really make a difference to the campus community and to your coworkers? And secondly, and as importantly, is this a position where you can gain? It needs to be both. And we talk about if the only reason to work here is kind of for a paycheck, you're going to get a lot more than a paycheck out of this. That's important, certainly that income, but we believe what you'll really gain from it is that leadership growth, that community building setting, your group to connect with, and so that's kind of a summary in regard to the student positions.
Yeah. If a student, and specifically those that maybe don't qualify for federal work study, prospective student is interested in on-campus employment and is interested in this type of opportunity, where do they start?
A couple things. They can, when they're coming on campus to register in May and June, our rec services staff, I always have 2 or 3 of our student staff over in the Commons building in the Severson Lounge area. And there's a table there, and so students who are coming in those registration days just stop by that table and they do kind of an initial informal interview with our student leaders. That's a place for them to get their name in. And from there, we really then have them follow up with a resume, and then in the summer we do a phone interview with them. It gives us a chance to tell them more about the job and them to ask questions and us an opportunity to learn more about them. Prior to that, the best way is via our website. They'd see my name and they can get my email address and just shoot me an email, and then I'll get that interaction going with them via email right away. And I've talked to certainly some prospective students over the phone in January, February, and that. So that would really be the ways is that interview process.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned the late night activities that go on here and providing students with some alternative options for entertainment into the wee hours of the night. Talk about those and what's available.
Yeah, we this year, for example, we have 17 different what we call late nights.
Okay.
And the late nights are described because of when they happen. They happen on a Saturday night. Most of them start at 10 o'clock and end about midnight. There are about 4 of those 17 that will start at 9 o'clock and go until 1 or 2 a.m. It depends a little bit on the scope of the activity. Yeah. But they range, so roughly 2 Saturdays every month. Yeah. We have a late night activity. Most of them are here in the Elmen Center. There are a handful that are off campus. We'll go roller skating off campus. We go bowling off campus. We go ice skating off campus. The other ones are here, and they're either in our facility or another facility on campus. But the ones that are here range from late night laser tag, where we set up the gym area with high jump pits and tables and bleachers, and we have a company come in with 24 guns for laser tag and play. And of course they love that. It's a great time. Turn out the lights. We also do a late night family feud. We do late night Las Vegas night. We just last Saturday night had our late night haunted house, and we take a portion of the Elmen Center, and our staff, they just do a tremendous job, the planning and the organizing that goes into it. But we have over 400 students who will come and go through this late night haunted house. It's really, it's becoming more and more, and I would not even say becoming, it really is, the thing to do on these Saturday nights. There are a lot of students that consistently come. And so it's been really fun to see it evolve and grow, and it's a great opportunity to do just a really fun activity on Saturday nights.
I think that covers most of the initial questions that I had. How about, I know there are probably other things that as our tour guides come through this building that you really think is important part of the Augustana story to share. Are there certain highlights or things that you really think for most students that we should touch on or highlight?
Sure. I'm taking that kind of as a sort of a summary type question, wide open.
Yeah.
But I would say I think one thing again is to really, and I hit on this a little earlier, but in regard to the intramural participation, I think it's really important to key in on the variety. I talked about 17 late nights, 20 group fitness classes, but I didn't even mention that in regard to intramurals, there's 40, 45 activities. And so I think the variety is really important. A lot of times prospective students, even when you just look at the Elmen Center, the mindset is sports athletics. And then the mindset goes to very high-level competition. In high school, I wasn't in sports, or I wasn't good enough to participate past 5th grade, or whatever it might be. And that's not what we're about. We want to really communicate that the variety is there, and then that competitive, recreational, rec option. And it's so important that people know, come try it. You're going to get to meet people. You get a chance to do some things and establish, honestly, some exercise habits and lifelong skills that are going to carry you way past Augustana. And you, I'm sure, realize this as a parent and busy with the family and all that, but in all honesty, if we don't establish some of those habits while we're here in this setting, which feels very busy at times, it's going to be harder for us to get going on good exercise habits, lifelong recreation skills after. Time-wise, it's harder to get going, but the other thing is cost-wise. It's expensive in a lot of those different sport things. So I think the biggest thing, in essence, what I'm saying is to really make sure we're hitting on that variety of activities and that the recreational option compared to the competitive. So that would be one. I think a second thing would be in regard to the job opportunity piece, that it's just what I hear over and over and over again from our staff is the community that you get to be a part of and the relationships and the connections that you have. I just had breakfast with a sophomore student yesterday who honestly was pretty highly connected here at Augustana. And he said to me yesterday morning, he said, yeah, that's true, but he said, I honestly know the reason I stayed at Augustana was because of the relationships I built with Rec Services staff. And that's a piece that kept me here. So I think that community part, and then certainly the leadership development part is another aspect. And a third piece I would say is, even like with the weight room area and the pool area, those areas are open pretty much all day long. It can fit your schedule. You're not confined to, I've only got this small window to go work out in. But the facility, when you look at a shared facility with athletics, recreation, and academics, you could kind of take a mindset right away of no time, no opportunity for me to go. Athletics is going to be in it all the time. And that's not the case. There's certainly athletics in here. It's a big part of our facility, but you can get on the racquetball courts, you can go use the weight room, you can get on cardio equipment, so a lot of opportunities that way.
Maybe just to dig a little deeper into the variety of intramural sports and opportunities for those that didn't maybe participate in high school. We have sports here that no one participated in high school, right?
They didn't offer them.
Because they didn't exist. Maybe they're made up by former Augustana students, but mention maybe some of the kind of more unique opportunities and different types of things outside of the traditional sports.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because it is. It applies very well. Well, first one that comes to mind is we call our all-terrain volleyball tournament.
Yeah.
And we start off every fall with it about the second week of school, and it's called all-terrain because you play volleyball on 4 different terrains. And the part of the tournament is a sand volleyball tournament. Part of it is a volleyball tournament, which is playing racquetball, not racquetball. It's playing volleyball in a racquetball court. A third terrain is regular indoor court volleyball, and the fourth, and the most popular, is mud volleyball. And so that's one that, again, it's a hit every year, even when the weather is cold and lousy, and they're out there playing mud and loving it. But that's definitely one that's unique. Another one is intramural battleship that actually last year we did as part of our late night, one of our late nights, and will again this year. And we had 2 canoes in the pool, and you have a team of 2 in one canoe and a team of 2 in the other canoe, and then they have buckets, and basically my canoe, our goal is to capsize your canoe. We can't push your canoe, we can't touch it, but we can throw water into it. And so that would be another intramural activity that certainly is not a high school sport. A third one, which indirectly this would tie into like a road race, but we call it a poker run. And that's been a fun one because we just use the course right around campus, just circle around campus, and it's a 2-mile course. It's called a poker run because there's 5 different places that you stop along the 2-mile route, and we have a staff person there with a deck of cards. You draw a card and you complete the 2-mile circuit, and whoever has the best poker hand wins. So it's not based on how fast or slow you run or walk or crawl or bike. You can do any of those things. It's totally based on your poker hand. So those are just a handful of some of the unique ones. I guess a final one I'd mention would be extreme dodgeball, and that's playing dodgeball in a racquetball court. And so obviously a small area, but you can either get people out by hitting them directly with the ball, or you have the ball hit the wall and then hit them. So that's another fun one.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
You bet.